question you just asked me, Stephen, how do I incorporate visual thinking in my practice at MetaHelm, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. It's really everywhere in how I work, but it's not all the time. Like right now, we're having this conversation. I'm not drawing. I may use some of the artifacts in the background at sometimes. Everything here has a purpose. I mean, I use these objects. They are not just here for decoration, but visual thinking is one of the core values or fundamentals or fundamental practices of MetaHelm. In fact, MetaHelm started with 2 service offerings in 2016. The first one was helping business leaders of a large corporation develop strategy through presentations. So thinking of presentations as a forcing function to let the strategy emerge versus creating strategy and then beautifying it, which typically tends to fail. The second service offering was graphic facilitation.
Okay.
So there's different names for this service offering. Some people call it graphic recording. I mean, I'm not going to go into the nuances, but it's basically the practice of using live visualization, live drawing, illustration to facilitate meetings better, so that the conversation is not just through an auditory channel, but is complemented and augmented with a visualization channel. So which really helps people connect better and create better solutions. So from the get-go, I started with this. And then over time, I noticed that the way I had split my services was causing a problem to me in my business model. When I would do the work on presentations, people would really position me as a consultant that can also do design and visualization. When I would do graphic facilitation, a lot of the time people would think, oh yeah, of me as, yeah, Guillaume is the doodle artist. He's the live illustrator, and that's true. And I don't mind that. The problem was that my clientele started to call me for projects that didn't align with my vision. Things like, hey, come and visualize our conference, and then starting going down the road of, oh, we've got a retirement party. Could you come and do some doodles because it's fun? I'm like, technically I can, but that's not what I want to do. And so I couldn't help my business find the calling that I wanted it to find. It was not the right path.
Yes.
A model that I like to another thing that as a quick preface here, a model that I like to follow is the model of Ken Wilberg's quadrant. Have you ever heard of those quadrants before? No. I can quickly draw them for you because I think it will shed some light on. Oh, here I have to hang on. I have to reset my camera for just a sec. There. You'll see why I do this, because we're gonna draw.
Oh, nice.
All right, let me reset this. Okay. Yeah, can you see this?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes.
so and that's I have a colleague called her name is Andy Agarbeck. She has that model. She explained this model even better than I do in her book, and it goes like this. So basically, you can draw for 4 main reasons. That's Ken Wilberg's paradigm and framework. Here's everything you do internally, and here's everything you do externally. Here is everything you do, and I think he has it flipped, but I like to put the individual down here and the collective, right? Everything at MetaHelm is organized through those 2 dimensions, those 4 quadrants. So I use visual thinking here for me when I want to draw to, this is me, right? When I have an idea here, it's in my mind, whatever this may be, it's a little fuzzy here. Well, I'll pick up the pen and I'll start drawing it.
Right.
So I sketch every day. So for instance, this is what I sketched today in the session that you led in a previous meeting. I was taking notes, but I go I go through a sketchnoting exercise very often. I do this impromptu. I developed ideas this way. So that's really drawing to think, right? So here, if we go here, collective and external, I also draw to present when I'm in front of an audience, right? So, and this enables me to move away from slides and become really more dynamic. So if I'm going to do if I'm going to introduce, which I think you may have experienced that, right? When I did my workshop,
Yes, yes.
the workshop.
That was the day that you revealed the framework.
Right, I presented it,
Yes, yes.
so I drew my sailboat metaphor here, and it was drawing to present here. Sorry, yeah, drawing to present, or draw to present or communicate, right? Which means that there is mostly a one way, it's a unidirectional flow of information. It's mostly me talking at people. Maybe there's a bit of Q&A and something like that, right? So that's what happened here during the present, and then this is draw to think, right? So these, as you can see here, there is an inherent relationship. I can't do this if initially I have not practiced my ideas. So here that would be me. I'm gonna try to draw the sailboat upside down, right? Drawing my little sailboat upside down. Okay, cool. So now when I am, let's go to internal and collective, right? And maybe, so that's what probably here, our conversation is a good example, right? We're talking about what's happening inside MetaHelm, and this is the two of us, so there's an interaction. So I would call this, I don't know how Brandy has it in her book. I might be wrong, but maybe it's draw to organize or to explain, right? To make sense.
Or draw to collab.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. Draw to collab. Yeah, we'll pick that. To draw to collaborate, right? To collab. Or we're teaming, right? So obviously there's a Zoom screen in between us. But if we were in the same room, we might be at a table maybe to be more comfortable. And we'd be here, and I'd be here. And what I would do is that we'd probably share the same canvas, or we would also post.
On the wall.
We could post on the wall. We'd have a flip chart or posters, and then we would draw together, right?
Yes.
So out of that we would create meaning. We'd actually develop a very strong sense of the same idea, right? The same object, or the same idea right here.
Yeah.
So let's draw to collaborate. I like that. I'm gonna decide that. Okay, this is great. Draw to collab. And then when I work with clients, more. I mean, I'm outside and it's more like individual, because I work one client at a time or one group at a time. And maybe in the group there is a set of different clients, but it's still in this. So what do we do then with Canada? So it's very similar to here, but I'm not just in draw to present. It's more it's very similar to draw to collaborate, but it's going more like draw to facilitate, right? So I'm going to put it here, because what I'm trying to facilitate at MetaHelm, draw to facilitate, is the creation and execution of business strategy. That's what my focus on, and I specialize in B2B entrepreneurs who are innovative, and sometimes they get stuck in, should we go left or right? How do we address this market? How do we launch this product, or how do we sell better, and so on. So this is draw to facilitate. So very similar setting here. but there will be sometimes also more people involved. Just so it's going to be very collaborative. People with different markers, different surfaces here. So this happens not only in the same room and pen and paper, but also in front of a computer with the use of tools like Miro or Mural, right? We have this whiteboard with a bunch of sticky notes and things happening here. So, okay, so I hope my little sketches make sense now.
Yes.
Out of this, this practice is constant, right? It goes ahead and flows. It's always there. As you could see here, as I demonstrate, is I develop an agility and a workflow and also some technology to be able to draw on the fly. Speed. So how do I make this work? What do I value is speed over perfection.
Yes.
Live visualization.
Mm.
Visualization. This is not drawing fine art.
No.
Obviously, as I look at my stick figures, they're barely recognizable, but they make sense because they occur in context.
Yes.
So it's all about ideas. Ideas first.
Yeah.
Over perfection.
Yes.
And then another piece that I would add here, ideas over perfection. There's very much that sense of iteration, prototyping. In fact, behind me here, I have this paper airplane to remind me of these principles. Like everything is a paper airplane to me. Everything is a prototype. It flies better and better. So, I'm just going prototype. I'm really trying to break the pattern of, oh yeah, it's visual, so it has to be beautiful, and we're not going to show it until it's perfect, which is really what tools like PowerPoint actually invite you to do, which is, it's so perfect, it's so all vector that you show a draft, and my clients, will present something, and they will put in bold draft for input, and nobody gives input because mentally we see this and we go, no, this is not for input. Like it comes across as already polished. So I'm not going to be, I'm not going to give input because otherwise I'm afraid I will say something bad or wrong. I'm going to hurt your feelings, or I'm going to destroy something that took a long time to develop.
Yeah.
So that's it at the high level.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I like that 4 quadrants. Yeah. And happy we came out with the new term, draw to collab.
Yeah, draw to collab. I'm trying to find Brandy's book. Oh, there you go. It's this book, The Idea Shaper. Hang on, it might not be. No, this is it. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Do you know this book?
No, I don't. I'll write it down.
Yeah, The Idea Shaper. Brandy is awesome. A great inspiration, and I took her workshop years ago, and it was the best investment, one of the best investment I made in my practice initially. Okay, there you have it. That's okay. So now we have it. This is the real stuff that Brandy. And see, she has it flipped because I turned the model, right? But basically, think, internal draw to see, draw to show, which was the opposite for me, which was draw to communicate, and then draw to do. For me was draw to facilitate. Oh, she has it here. Draw to facilitate, draw to communicate, draw to work through ideas. Draw to think, and draw to represent. I have a slight twist on this, but that's basically it.
That's
the
cool.
framework.
How like what is your setup? Like I'm interested to know like what is your setup like with the your like do you have an overhead camera? Like is that your iPhone or what do you have?
I have three webcams.
Okay.
I have this webcam, that's the
Yeah.
main one that
Yeah.
you can see me through.
Yeah.
Then I have the one I'm holding right now to give you a tour of my setup, right?
Yeah.
If I want to show something else, like hey, look at my microphone
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I have this overhead camera
Ah,
called an
okay.
IPVO camera,
Okay.
IPVO VZR, um,
Let's spell the company IPVO.
IPEVO. Sorry for the
Okay.
the bumpy tour of my
Okay.
IPEVO. Yeah, it was recommended by one of my clients, Kai Magaldi in Germany, and initially I'm like, I don't know, and then I am such a fan of this camera. This is the one of the best tool
Hmm.
I've ever bought because I think it just it MetaHelm is really about authenticity. I try to really value and bring that as
Yeah.
much as I can, and that's the most real I can be, right? You can see directly what is happening on my desk and how I can help you understand the concept.
Oh, it's not bad. It's like only like $200. So it's actually
Yeah,
not
you
super.
have different models. They
Yeah.
range two to $300, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
I also have an iPad that I fire up sometimes. I used to use it a lot more. I use a Procreate,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's also a fantastic tool with an Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
So I also have that, and I've done a lot of graphic facilitation work with an iPad. And I would go to conferences and stand on the side of the stage and represent and illustrate back in the days, what people were talking and discussing, and live I would record and represent what they talk about. Okay, so I'm doing two things at a time. Let me show you an example
Yeah.
of that setup here. If you go to Guillaume Viard, if you type in Google Guillaume Viard graphic facilitation, um, this one here, you can see how it was set up.
Oh, okay.
That was probably 2018. That's a
Wow.
while ago. So see, I have my iPad here, and I'm drawing, and that's plugged here through the screen, and people can see. So this is called graphic recording because I'm only listening. I'm not facilitating the conversation.
Yes.
On the right here, you can't see it, but there is either someone doing a keynote,
Yeah.
or having a fireside, chat conversation. This is you can see this is the how do you call this?
Yeah. Time lapse video. Yes.
Time lapse video. There you go. So you can see how I do these here.
That's crazy, man.
So I did a lot of that, and that was part of my business at some point. I don't offer this service anymore
Yeah.
as a standalone. I'll do it occasionally. I do it more for me than
Yeah.
um, but it always when clients don't know that I will do that. I mean, they know I have this capability, but I just do because I see that it's necessary.
Right.
It's always a delight to them. Like it's always very powerful for them to see their ideas being visualized immediately, and they can interact with their thoughts. It just clarifies everything. It enables me to also challenge some of the ideas, right?
Hmm.
So, but this is graphic recording, which leads me to another point I said earlier, which is I don't visualize things all the time. I mean, I had this assumption at some point in my career that yeah, everything needs to be drawn, and no, it's okay. Just listening is a good thing too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a superpower, man. That's a superpower. Like you need the ability to listen and to draw at the same time. Like, like you're I try to do that, but number one, like you need to first understand the context and need to digest the context and then turn them into visualizations. So
Mm.
that means that both your brain needs to be working simultaneously
Yeah,
so fast, right? It's like and you need to have that visual vocabularies in your like in your libraries already.
Yeah,
Like, okay, what if I run out of the icon? Like, how do I draw this? Like, present this as a as an art form? Like, you
yeah.
know, that's a thing, right? And then you probably have to study the keynote speakers. You have to do some research before you actually, you know.
So I love this question. I love this question. So let's hold that thought. But
Okay.
before we go there, you mentioned I think Mike Roddy this morning in our
Yes,
meeting.
yes, yes. Yeah,
Obviously, Mike Roddy's book were just a big for me. Just such a great validation of.
yeah,
I was already sketchnoting a lot and
yeah,
doing a lot of visualization. Like a decade and a half before I read his book,
yeah,
in boardrooms, but it was kind of natural, and I didn't have the concept, the framework, the theory
yeah,
that he brings in his book, and his book is just so awesome. Like it just explains and breaks down everything. So for me, it was like, oh yeah, that's why I want to draw. Ah, okay, I get it now. Here's the reason why I like
Mhm.
to this layout over this one and so on, and he explains it very well. And one of the things he explains, like that vocabulary you mentioned, is just like words. Learn the steps, like the square, the rectangle, the triangle, and then go from there and practice. So what I did for several years, Stephen, I in Seattle, there still those creative mornings conferences. I think they are in most cities in North America.
Okay.
To look them up, and in Seattle, they would happen on Friday morning, always Friday morning. It was a time frame that would work out for me to go in person, grab a cup of coffee, meet cool people, and then you listen to a talk for 30, 40 minutes. And um, I would always bring a sketchbook with me. Um, I have one of them, I think, somewhere here. Yeah, I would bring a sketchbook, and and a few, crayons or pencils and markers,
Yeah.
and there you go. I would
Wow.
just sketch out stuff, with experimenting with different, styles. Here on in this sketchbook, I obviously like the black and white style.
Mhm.
Oh, what happens if now we introduce blue, and could notice really that I would memorize the information so much better, break it down. Yeah. So I set myself that challenge of doing a sketch note as much as I could. This is 10 years ago.
Wow.
There you go, 10 years ago. But that challenge was like, okay, I'm going to try to sketch note as much as I can. And that's how I turned this into a business. Someday, one day, one of my colleagues came to me and said, "Oh, I really like how you take notes. There's about sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austin. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Austin Kleon keynote there."
Hmm.
So one of my colleagues said, "Well, I really like how you take notes. So, would you be out of curiosity? Would you like to come to our conferences and do that while people talk?" And I'm like,
Sure.
"Sure, I'll try. I've never done it, but if you pay for the gear and
Yeah.
we make an easy deal, you can." I'm not going to work for free, but
Yeah.
let's make this work. But that's how I started working with GeekWire. So in 2000, yeah, 13 or 14, like, yeah, something like that, or 15. Here I am on stage facing a big blank canvas, and then all those speakers coming. I'm like, okay, let's start visualizing this. It was scary as
That's hell, right? Like,
as hell, yeah. And interestingly, they asked me at the end, like, "Oh wow, you must be so tired," and I was physically
tired.
tired, but spiritually, I was so energized. I could tell I was tapping into my creative energy. Like this was
Mhm.
so right. It's so right for me. It just makes
Yeah.
me happy.
Yeah.
It's useful. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
My ADHD brain just loves it because it's solving millions of little problems at the same time. Because how do we represent this? Let's tap into the vocabulary. You're listening so actively too. So love it.